Good afternoon. Let me thank you for being here. I'm Isaiah Hughley. I am the city manager of Columbus. We've got the Honorable Mayor Skip Henderson here who will greet you in just a minute or so. I want to thank Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge, who will actually do a PowerPoint presentation for you. And we've got public safety here and our fire EMS chief, Sal Scarper, and our engineer, Donna Newman, and inspections and codes, Ryan Pruitt. We have Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin, and our Parks and Rec Director, Holly Browder. And so though we only have a few citizens present, we want you to know that this is televised live on CCG TV. It will be rebroadcast, and this is the second of 3 scheduled public meetings. We had one on the 14th on Monday, tonight the 17th, and then we have a third public meeting on Monday the 21st. Do want you to know, those watching by television, that you can also watch it as part of an update at the City Council meeting, which is broadcast 3 times a day. You can go and take a look, and if you've got questions, you can email them. Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge will talk to you tonight about how to email questions real time tonight, and we will answer those questions for those who are watching live TV on CCG TV. We will have an update at the City Council meeting on Tuesday, the 22nd. And so we encourage you, if you watch City Council meeting, you will see the same presentation as part of the council meeting, and you will see them at council meetings as we go forward. At each meeting, we're going to continue to show it for those who may be watching CCG TV who missed it before. We'll have an opportunity to hear this PowerPoint each time we have City Council meeting. There will be additional public meetings. The schedule has not been released, but know that there will be additional public meetings. The purpose of staff coming out, the city manager and deputy city manager, to have these public meetings is to educate. We as staff, we're not out here to campaign. In fact, we're not allowed to campaign for or against a special purpose local option sales tax. And so our purpose here today is to gather information from you, the citizens, answer questions that you may have, but then share with you what you have shared with us over a period of time. We had some public meetings in 2020 before the pandemic, and then we suspended those meetings, and we are now picking back up and going back to the public to say, here's what we heard from you. Do you want to add to this list? If you want to add to the list, we'll add things to the list. We'll ultimately take it to City Council, and the City Council members will decide based on your input what goes forward on this list for the proposed special purpose local option sales tax, which will be held in November. With that, I'm going to call on the mayor, and then Pam Hodge will come up to deliver the PowerPoint, and then we will answer questions and educate on what we've heard from citizens, and talk about how those things might work if approved going forward. Thank you again for being here, and we look forward to your questions and discussion this evening. Mayor Skip Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, and I'll be brief. I do want to emphasize a couple of things that the City Manager touched on. One is the multiple media that's being used to try to make sure that this gets to as many people as possible, that it's going to be recorded, it'll be replayed. And the reason for that is because this is about the citizens of Columbus. This is really a continuation of stuff. I think we started this back in 2019. And of course, when the pandemic hit, frankly, we just made the decision that even though it was going to make the hill a little steeper for us, we just decided we did not want to ask the citizens during such uncertain times to even consider an additional tax. So we promised you then that we would be back this year. We did collect all that information. The idea is exactly as the city manager laid out. It's to collect ideas from you. So we've done that. We're coming back by saying this is what we think we heard. This is your opportunity to confirm, to alter, or to remove. So we look forward to your comments, and we look forward to the comments of those that may be watching at home and submitting their ideas and questions online. This is also an effort for us to continue to fulfill a promise that we made to individuals. You remember that several years ago we had a major challenge with our existing government building that created about $6.5 million worth of work for us for an old building. And we did the work, but while we were doing it, we discovered that there were a lot of life safety issues that also had to be addressed. So we dived into trying to fix those things as well. And during that process, we made the determination that between the uneconomical way that thing is constructed, with our heating and air going right out the doors and the cracks in the windows, we needed a new government building and judicial center for the citizens of Columbus. Almost 1,200 people a day come in every day into that government center, and that doesn't include employees. So to be certain that we were taking care of the citizens of this community and providing a safe, comfortable, efficient environment for them to do the work and them to expect their government to do the services that are provided to them, we started talking about the possibility of a sales tax to take care of that judicial building. So that will be one of the items that you'll see on here, but the rest of that revenue generated from that sales tax will come, the projects will come from you. A sales tax is the way we chose to go because, frankly, we have a lot of people as a hub city with folks visiting, folks working, folks dining and recreating in Columbus. There's a lot of people from out of our county that use our facilities, and we love that. We love being a regional center. But it gives them an opportunity. It gives them an opportunity to contribute towards the development of the services and the facilities and the roads and some of the things that suffer from people utilizing them throughout the year. So we look forward to your input. Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge is going to come up now, and she'll start the PowerPoint and walk you through. So again, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge, and I appreciate those of you that are here today and those that are watching from CCG TV. I'll go through a presentation. We'll be happy to answer your questions at the end. And I will point out that we have the ability for you at home to ask questions, or actually if you're in the audience, you're welcome to ask your questions this way as well. You can go on www.menti.com and put in this code 3863966. When you come up to the screen, it looks very simple. You just input the code 38063966, and this screen will pop up when you hit submit. Feel free to type in your question. We have someone that's monitoring this, and at the end we'll provide all the questions that are asked online so that we can respond to those questions as well. And obviously, if you're in the room with us this evening, you can come up to the microphone. We'll be happy to answer your questions that way. We also have a phone set up at 706-225-3002. These two mechanisms will be active while we're here this evening to respond to questions. We also have a comment card. Wrong way. We have a comment card if you go on the city's website at www.columbusga.org. You'll see the presentation. You'll also see the notice of the public meetings, which this is the second public meeting. You'll also see the 2021 Splost comment card. We also have those printed in the back of the room this evening, but you'll be able to go online and fill out that comment card as well. So there's another way for you to respond and ask questions. My email and my phone number is listed on that comment card, so you're welcome to contact my office and we'll get your questions and any comments relayed to City Council. So as we've talked about the special purpose local option sales tax, the ballot would be November the 2nd. So working backwards from that date, the call for the elections would be August the 3rd. Council will have to make a decision through a resolution on July 27th. So we are in that time period where we're gathering all of that information from our citizens so that we can provide that information to City Council, and they'll make a determination of what projects appear on that list. So the 2021 Splost, right at this time, we're proposing a $400 million Splost. That would be a collection period of approximately 10 years. If the Splost passed, the collection would actually start April 1st of 22. Ballot would be in November. It starts April 1st of 22. Because we are a consolidated government and we're considering issuing bonds for one particular project on the list, that period of time for collections will be until the dollar amount is reached. It's not a set period of time. So until the $400 million or whatever value council actually approves, that will be the time period of the collection. All other projects that are being proposed at this point would be considered pay-as-you-go. So as funding is collected, then those projects will be scheduled out during the time of a special purpose local option sales tax. We, as the mayor mentioned, one of the major projects that kind of brought up this discussion was how we were going to deal with the challenges that we were having at the government center. And so City Council authorized us to bring on a team to help us evaluate the government center and then the options for the government center. There were 4 options that we asked our consultants to review. One would be to renovate the tower, the existing government center, and add an addition to that facility. The second option was a new complex on the facility, so demolition of both the tower and the wings and a construction of a new judicial center and a new administration square footage, as well as a parking deck. Option 3 was a new judicial center on the existing site downtown in Uptown and a government administration facility on a different site. And then option 4 was leave the government center where it's at and build a new facility on a different site. So our consultants came in and provided the analysis that was needed to review these 4 particular options. One thing that they looked at was the need to right-size the government. And so they did a complete needs assessment with every department and function that's in the government center currently, and then some of those functions that's actually outside the government center that really support the general operations of the city. And what they found was city government is about the right size. The administration is about the right size. They're projecting a slight increase from 102,000 square feet to 107,000 square feet. So really some minor changes for city government. What they found was our court and our court functions were really not in the right space to right size for best practices for court operations. So the majority of the increase in the square footage is on the court side. And really to illustrate this, you can see on the left-hand side is really a current courtroom in the government center, and on the right side is best practices of how a pair of courtrooms would operate for best practices. The blue represents the courtroom itself, and you can see from the current version to a new version, the courtroom is about the same size as what we have currently. What the differences are is those support spaces around the courtroom itself. The orange actually represents the inmate area. You can see a very small elevator. Basically, inmates are transported up and down in the government center. The holding cells are actually on one particular floor in the government center, and there's one elevator that's shared by judges and inmates where they're transported. In best practices, those inmates are held next to the courtroom. There's the ability for their attorney to have those conversations with inmates in a secure setting. So you'll see a big difference in the inmate portion of best practices of a courtroom. The other thing you'll see is the yellow area represents the public space. And so in the public space, if you've been to any courtroom for any purpose, you're basically standing in the hallway. There's not much room for the public to get in and out of courtrooms, to have any discussion with their attorney, with their family related to that. So you'll see the major difference is in the inmate area, in the public space, not necessarily the courtroom. So they looked at a lot of attributes related to those 4 options, anywhere from the site to the cost, to the efficiency of how any of these options will work. And then they put kind of the street light, red, green, or yellow to that, each of those options and each of those attributes. And they immediately removed option 1 and option 4 from the discussion. They just didn't really meet best practices, and these attributes kind of ruled those 2 out. They eventually eliminated option 2 and left us with option 3 as their recommendation. So option 3, and again, this does not depict what the facility will look like. This is only to show how it could be situated on the site, how many floors potentially it could be based on the square footage. It will not be just square block building. So we really looked at cost, and we asked them, we really need to make sure that the cost is under $200 million. And we also wanted to look at something that we've done recently, which with the health department is we retrofitted an existing building for the health department. So we wanted to look at, could we retrofit an existing building for city operations and not have to build a new structure? So they came up with really what we're calling option 3A, and that would be a new judicial center on the government center site. It pulls the sheriff administration that's not related to those court functions into a separate building, possibly at the jail site, which would make his operations more efficient. And then looking at renovating an existing building for the city government facilities. So this is what it potentially could look like on the existing site. This would be a new judicial center and the new parking structure. And again, this is not what the building itself will look like. But phasing for that, excuse me, phasing for that would be removing the 2 wings, building a new judicial center, demolishing the government center, constructing a new parking structure. So I want to stop there after we've kind of talked about the government center, and again remind everyone at home that if you have questions, you have the ability to go on menti.com, 3806-3966, and you can put in your question, or you can call at 706-225-3002. So this is the recommended project list. It's really a draft list. It's what we heard from the citizens when we met in 2019. And I will go through each one of these individually. Excuse me. So the Judicial Center at $200 million would be approximately 310,000 square feet, 500 to 600 space parking facility, and it would house all the courts, their clerks, the judges, district attorney, public defender, and those court-related functions. Excuse me. So next project, Parks and Recreation, $45 million. This would include park improvements at Flat Rock, Carver Park, Cooper Creek, Benning Park, Lake Bottom Park, Theo McGee, and Woodger Farm Soccer Complex. We also are initiating some enhancements to those parks to include mini splash pads at Cooper Creek, South Commons, Carver Park, in the Liberty District at this facility and Lake Bottom Park. And also to replace the pool with either a major splash pad or a pool at Shirley Winston, Salmon Road, and Rigdon Park. As you know, we've had a lot of discussion around parks about the restrooms, the facilities, the playgrounds, the pavilions, and so a lot of funding would be dedicated to improving all of our parks within our community. Public safety facility renovations, $10 million. This would include the renovation of 3 fire stations. That would be Station 4, 6, and 8. 4 is off of St. Mary's Road, 6 is off of Brown Avenue, and 8 is off of Whitesville Road, as well as renovations to the public safety building, which was originally built in the 90s. $24 million for vehicle and equipment for public safety, and this could be anywhere from fire trucks and ambulances, administrative vehicles for the sheriff's office, pursuit vehicles, administrative vehicles, inmate transport vehicles, bomb squad, replacement of their firearms simulation system, police department, the River Road Tower replacement, pursuit vehicles, motorcycles, a mobile command vehicle, and other police department equipment. Transportation, $24 million. This would be strictly for resurfacing and expansion of the trail and sidewalk system. Stormwater flood abatement, one of the other things that we hear a lot of requests from our citizens is to address a lot of the drainage issues. We came to council in May of 2020 with a prioritization of those stormwater projects, and those are listed on this particular list at $20 million. Anything from the historic area to North Columbus to East Columbus, we hear drainage issues throughout our community, and it would address a lot of those major projects that's currently on our list. Bull Creek Clubhouse and Bridge, this is to replace the clubhouse at the golf course for Bull Creek, as well as a renovation of the Oxbow Creek Clubhouse at $4 million. Heavy equipment and vehicles at $14 million. This would include tractors, trailers, dump trucks, excavators, all of that equipment that our city departments utilize on a daily basis to take care of the needs of the citizens. Information technology, $5 million to replace computer equipment throughout the government. Economic development, $9 million. This would be for additional infrastructure and site preparation at Muskogee Technology Park to encourage and bring additional businesses to Columbus, as well as targeting a South Columbus redevelopment. Trade Center, $5 million. This would be for the renovation or replacement of their parking structure. We have a bond issue that was issued in 2003 for about $4 million. So coupled with that, we would be able to increase their parking from 397 to approximately 500 spaces. The Civic Center, $5 million. This facility was built in the 90s as well, and it would really do a renovation of the Civic Center, anywhere from a roof replacement, replacing the sound system, the LED display, video scoreboard, as well as the HVAC system. And just to give a history of the sales tax and currently what the sales tax is in Muskogee County, it's currently at 8%, includes 4% for the state, 1% for a local option sales tax for general operations of the city. The other local option sales tax, which was voted on by the voters in 2008, became effective in 2009, and that is 70% public safety, 30% for infrastructure. The Splost is 1%, that goes for to the school district. And the Splost, which is a regional Splost for the 16 county region, that will come to an end in December of 22. And so that's our current sales tax rate is 8%. If the Splost were to pass in November, come April 1st of 22, we would go to 9% for a period of 9 months. If the Splost is approved and is on the ballot and is approved, then we would stay at 9% in January of '23. If it's not approved, then it would fall back to 8% after that period of time. And this just illustrates that during those months, April of '22 to December of '22, it would be at 9%, and the voters would get to decide if it stays at 9% or it goes back to 8%. This provides a history of the sales tax in Muskogee County. There have been 5 different e-Splosts done for the school district. We've had 2 previous Splosts and 1 T-Splost. Again, tonight is our second public meeting. We will also have one on the 21st, again from 5:30 to 7 at council chambers at the City Service Center that we're in this evening. Again, if you have questions that you would like to submit to us, you can go to menti.com, put in the code 38063966, or you can also call 706-225-3002. So at this time, we'll be happy to answer any questions from the audience, and if you want to submit your questions, we'll be happy to start responding to questions that you have online as well.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Is that, can you hear it? Is it turned on? Yep, it's on. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to commend you for going through another round of stakeholder input. The last round was excellent. COVID then had something to do with it. But because you guys did the right thing and you put off a potential new tax, we all got burned by the people in the building across the way. And now you politically have to go through the fight to get this okayed, even though we've got to have functioning buildings. We've got to. There's just no choice. So I commend you for doing the right thing, and I'm sorry you all got burned for doing it. That's what I guess that's life. The main thing for me is the tower's got to go. I don't care if you do a hybrid option 4, option 2, whatever it is, the tower has got to go. We all saw, 3-4 days ago, the next pipe went. I mean, it's just going to be literally drip by drip, just problematic in cost and in public safety. So with that, I'm sorry that the Judicial Center, I guess, looks like it's going to be in that basic area and you're not able to do it at the near the jail, the Liberty area, to build that up. That would still be my favorite option if there's any way of doing that. And in terms of where to put any new government function, basic government building, I don't know that we need to be wedded to that downtown specific area. I think that can be in a lot of different places. Look at this building, right? This whole complex here came out of nowhere, and it's a decent amount of distance away. So that being the case, I'm asking for you to be very open to creating a whole new area that would not traditionally be considered the center of town necessarily. I know you spoke of a space audit back when you were doing these meetings before, and I see that the consultants did an analysis and whatnot. I wonder, though, if with the COVID that we didn't learn that we could get by with even less space, with a lot of the people not needing to commute into work. And again, this is need and nice and nice to have. I want to go with the need part. That being the case, I think we would have even more options for any kind of building and to save some money in that way. I have no contradiction to about the judicial requirements. It's a lot. So that's, whatever it is, it is. Whatever buildings you build, I would suggest that that if it's assuming it's relatively flat, that we use sod or something like it on the top. there are incredible savings to be had in energy costs just by putting grass on the top of a roof. It's amazing. Other cities are doing it and are seeing those kind of savings. And environmentally, it's a positive thing. And depending on how it's designed, it would be a nice space for the employees to go up and have lunch or something. It's just a big win. And the cost is, the initial cost will be whatever it is, but then the maintenance will be very cheap. At least that's the experience in other cities that I've seen. So then the other thing, and this is new to me, or relatively new, is this concept of the judicial setup gets paid for right away with a bond, and you're going to build it. And then all the rest of it is a pay-as-you-go. I would urge that the new government building, whatever that looks like, also be included in a bond to get built right away. We've got a bicentennial coming up. I think that would be an absolutely perfect thing to do. And then lastly, of all the priorities, public safety, boy, what you guys do with the budgets you're given is incredible. We're blessed to have your all's leadership. But for me, the day in, day out business of government is crucial. And one of those functions, in addition to public safety, is garbage collection. And we're running into trouble right now because we don't have enough labor. Let's put it that way. You recently went to automated trucks for recyclables. My guess is it would be great. You'd like to be able to do that for all of it. I think that's being smart too. I noticed that if new garbage collection trucks, new what do you call them?
Containers.
Barrels or whatever, that might be necessary. You know, if the public screams, why do I have to buy a $50 barrel or whatever? Fine, put it on the Splost, give it to free to people. But it is that crucial. You'll find out if there's a garbage problem, how quick the constituents are not happy with you. So that, to me, is absolutely crucial and ought to be a capital expense that you incur with this particular Splost. It's a perfect opportunity. Again, situationally, the problem has presented itself as a long-term problem. Get it done now while you can. It would be my advice. And so anyway, I'm blabbering. Thank you so much for doing this again, for hearing us. Anybody who complains that they weren't heard, they're fools. They're just fools. Forget them. So, tower's got to go. Put a grass on the rooftop if you can. It'll save us money. It's better for everything. And make a priority out of whatever the garbage collection is going to look like into the future. And if you can do it with capital expense, that would be great. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Todd Robinson. To the mayor, to the city manager and his staff, any elected officials, everybody who took the time to come out, and our viewing audience. I was looking at your priorities on your Splost list, and some areas that I would like to consider, for you to consider, is public safety first. We need surveillance cameras now. We need to get a hold of our crime rate right now. We need to look at probably building some more police precincts within the areas, just something to consider. Do a study. We do studies. That's going to take time. We got young kids killing each other right now, and will a camera stop them? No, but it will give the law enforcement an opportunity to see the activity in that area. And I think we need to go back and look at putting more precincts out, or in those high-value areas, high crime areas. The tax commissioner's office. Every time I come down here, the line is wrapped all the way around the building in the parking lot. People that are disabled, elderly, they can't stand in those elements. We need to support the tax commissioner, whatever she needs in terms of space, software update, room, whatever, because we are the taxpayers. And we shouldn't have to stand in the elements, in the cold, in the rain, to pay our taxes. The last thing that I had was Metro. As I drive through the city, and I think during COVID, we lost a lot of patrons who ride the bus. There's no covered, well, I won't say none, there's none. We need more covered Metro bus stops. The weather, people that are sitting there, it's like one bench with a bus stop sign. We need to put some covered bus stands where people can, when they get their groceries, they don't have to stand in the rain waiting for the bus. And I think that will help the patrons, and I think it would help our city. And I think that's some of the unsung heroes. That's some of the things that they want, but they're not here tonight to say that, and I hope I can say that for them. Thank you for hearing me, and I'm glad I came to see. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments, and we are taking notes of all the comments that are made, and those will be part of the presentation to City Council. So thank you. I appreciate your comments, sir.
Good evening. My name is James Nelson.
Good evening.
All right, how y'all doing? My biggest issue is with the tower. I'm infatuated with skylines. So please don't take away the little skyline we do have. That's all I ask. I don't care. Another building, that's great. That's fine. I'm with that. But please don't take away the little skyline we do have. Save the government center. I don't care what you do with it, just build another one. And then, on top of that, go all the way out. I said at the last meeting when it was at South Columbus Baptist Church. You got to go all the way out with this building. This building here is going to be left to the millennials and our kids and grandkids. So don't leave them nothing to be patching up and renovating all that. Go all the way out. Don't let the budget interfere with it. If the sales tax got to last 20 years, let it last 20 years. Go all the way out with it, because I always say it with the Civic Center. You shortcutted it. The city shortcutted the citizens of Columbus with their Civic Center. They have done it. It's just like pretty much like the auditorium with red bricks. Pretty much, you stop it halfway around instead of going all the way around with it. Just if you're gonna do it. Go all the way out with it. That's all. And then another thing before I forget, Greyhound. Who's responsible for Greyhound? Is it the city? Is it the company? Or what? Who's responsible for the Greyhound building itself?
That would be a private entity. It's a private matter. It's not a city facility.
So what is going on? Can you answer that question? What is going on with an actual building as far as Greyhound? Because I had a friend of mine said he had to catch the bus on St. Mary Road by Phoenix Food Locker. Is that true?
Yes. As the deputy city manager said, Greyhound is a private bus company like Trailway.
Gotcha.
When we had Trailway was a private company. Obviously things have changed for Greyhound, and as it has changed for most of us with all that's going on. And so they wanted to downsize. They didn't feel like they needed that large of a building. And so they have and I just learned as well that it's at the corner next to the Food Locker on St. Mary's and Far Road at that gas station is where they drop people off. And I remember way back in the day when I rode Trailway, you go through some small towns and they pick you up at a store.
Correct.
And it's unfortunate that that's what we have today with that transportation, private transportation, but that's what we have.
Right.
But it's a private sector business, and it was their decision, not government.
I thought he was kidding me at first when he told me about it. I was like, are you serious?
Yep.
They've
got a small Greyhound sign at the gas station at Far Road and St. Mary's Road, and that's where they pick up people and drop them off.
All right.
But we have nothing to do with that.
Okay. One more thing as far as the Civic Center. is anything coming up with the Civic Center that we can just trying to get a completely different, another building, what I'm getting at, for that Civic Center? Because, you know, when they built that Civic Center, when you build a building with red bricks, I guarantee you within 5 years, it would start showing its age. It would show its age. At 5 or 6 years approximately, it would start showing its age. Had the city or the council ever really discussed trying to get a completely new building?
Well, no, that building was constructed in 1996.
That's right.
Well, actually, 1990.
It was passed in 93.
Yeah, 93, maybe
Right.
93. It was a state-of-the-art building at that time. The Civic Center, I mean, it can seat with floor as many as 10,000,
Right.
just over 10,000.
Right.
We've got professional sports in that building, and they're contemplating additional professional sports.
Right.
And so, they've got $5 million listed for upgrades, to do some work, roof work and other things. And so it's maintenance and upkeep and taking care of that building, but it still has lots of useful life.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do have some questions but come on up, sir.
How y'all doing today?
Good evening.
My name is Lee Williams. I have a question pertaining to the school board tax. That question is that when you have property that you don't rent out, why do you have to pay school taxes on a property that someone else is staying in and kids are going to school? That's my question. Why do a person have to pay taxes when they don't stay in that, resident and someone else staying there?
So the owner of all property within Muskogee County pays a school tax. That is not controlled by the city of Columbus, the Columbus Consolidated Government. That is a separate board, the Muskogee County School District, but they levy a mill or millage for property taxes just like the city does. You're not exempt from paying Muskogee County School District taxes whether or not you have children in school or not, unless you have a particular type of exemption. So you wouldn't be exempt from school taxes.
Okay, I understand that, what you're saying, but I'm just saying that this need to be looked at, because it really, to me, and to a lot of other people that's not here, is really that, to a degree, it need to be looked at, because why should I be paying taxes like you all going up on taxes now for the Splost? I'm saying it's people that can't afford to keep going up on taxes, paying taxes 9, 8, 7, maybe 10. If it keep going on, I'm saying you have what you call low-class people that really don't have it like that. So, and that was my question, one of the questions that were brought up, through numerous of people, that why do taxes, you paying taxes and school taxes if you don't, having the kid going to school?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to, I know city probably won't have anything to do with that, but I'm
Right.
saying this need to be looked at
Yeah.
broad.
And-
Why is this?
Yeah, and so we need to pass that concern on to our state legislative delegation, because we don't have any control over that.
Yeah, I'm saying, I don't know, I was just asking, because like I said, these taxes keep going up and up, and people don't consider it's people that don't have it like that. It's some you got to have and they have not. Some do and some don't. So they got to consider everybody,
Sure.
not just passing taxes because we need this and we need that. Because a lot of people don't use the places, the facility that the money going to.
Sure.
So I'm saying, it's just like the information. I just seen this meeting last night. This information is not broad like it should In other words, not giving it to people to see it so they can come out and voice their opinion. You're gonna have some that gonna come out, some that's not gonna come out. But information need to be in people's hand and let them make that choice, what they do with it. You
Sure.
know, so, because, you know, I'm from uptown, like Pop Austin. Pop Austin was taken from the community because people didn't come out when they had the meeting about changing it to whatever they done turned it to. So right now, can't nobody go in there and play ball anymore because that gym is off limit. So, and of course, they did it in the right manner about seeing who comes out, who don't. But that's what I'm just saying, that there's some things that need to be looked at the low class people as well as the upper class people. There's some people that can afford things, some people can't. You know, it's like city council.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding from a lot of people that in their community, you have a great high percentage of people do not even know who their councilman is. And that's sad.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, I don't think city councils is really making themselves known to the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got people that need things done. The way to get things done is to know your city councilman. And I think all city councilmen should have a relationship with their district, and that is not happening. You know, so I'm just saying that's for anything that's going on, you start first with the city council.
Well, let me just say that any person, citizen, can dial 311, ask for the clerk of council's office, and they can ask for the phone number or address for their city councilor, the mayor, or any city councilor. So, and they do respond to calls and emails. And so dial 311 if you're listening by television, ask for the clerk of council, and the clerk of council will provide contact information for every single city council member.
Well, all due respect, Mr. Isaiah, when I come to and start speaking of something, I speak on experience. I
Sure,
done crossed that bridge, I done that.
yeah,
I have city councilmen that I done called, and I got proof for text there. I get back what you done called. Never did, that been 2 months ago.
okay,
So, and it's taking consideration, a lot of people don't watch television, a lot of people don't use phone, don't know how to use the phone. You gotta do a broad understanding of peoples
sure,
in general. So I'm saying, I understand that you got the information, you just call here to call there, but that ain't always the answer, because through the especially during the pandemic, things don't really been shut down by trying to get in touch with people.
sure,
I mean, it's hard to do now.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you, sir.
So we do have a few questions. I'll read those questions while we're here this evening. Will there be a detailed plan stating exactly what measures will be implemented to make the future government center adaptable, resilient, and long-lasting than the current one? That is one thing that is part of a new facility is a business plan. We are looking at operational costs related to a new facility compared to what the facility, what we spend on that facility now, so that will be part of the process. The next question, will current staff within all areas of the building be surveyed as to best building practices for their most optimal functions of operations within their department? We did meet, the consultant did meet with every single department in the government center and in the annex, and had those discussions with them. We also met with newly elected officials. After January 1st, we had some new officials that came into office, and we met with them to make sure that what their predecessor had told us played true, and we made some adjustments. There was a consolidation with the sheriff's office and the marshal's office, so that was one area that was revisited. So we did meet with all departments and got their input on their particular operation. One question, will inmate transportation between the parking and drop-off area to the courts and holding cell be improved, and how? Of course, the design of the facility is not completed. This was only a space and needs assessment that was done to determine what the square footage would be. But we do envision a more secure area for the inmates and as they move into the courtroom through a sally port, as opposed to how it currently is in the government center. So we do expect that security to be much greater in a new facility. That is another area of best practices that would be implemented. Next question, what improvements are planned for Flat Rock Park? All the specific improvements have not been itemized. We are looking at park improvements at each one of our facilities, and of course the budget will dictate how much can be done at each particular park. But we are looking at pavilions, picnic tables, restroom facilities, amenities within the park. We've looked at mini splash pads for some of the facilities. The playgrounds, the restrooms, and the pavilions are kind of the main focus, is to bring all of those parks up to today's standards and provide a better amenity for our citizens. And I think, we got couple more questions. Will the roads be fixed in Columbus from the tax increase? If so, when will repairs begin and at what locations? So part of this particular Splost includes $20 million strictly for resurfacing and road improvements. When will it begin? This would be a pay-as-you-go project, so there would be so much allocated throughout the term of the Splost to address resurfacing. The particular locations are determined by our pavement management system. We, about every 5 years, evaluate every road in Columbus, Georgia, and they're ranked, and they get a score between 1 and 100. 100 being, a newly paved road, 1 being a very bad condition road. Currently, we're resurfacing roads that are scored in the 30s. So we do have some work to do with resurfacing, and we know that. That's why we've allocated a substantial amount to continue to address resurfacing in our community. When will it start? The sales tax, if it's adopted, would start April 1st. And so we anticipate we would start seeing some projects getting started in what we would call FY23, which begins July 1st of 22. So there would go through the budget process, and those that would be the time period that projects would begin that are on the pay-as-you-go side. When would suggestions for new areas for the government aspect of the government center come out? Are there any current ideas? Would it focus on currently dilapidated areas that could be renewed? At this time, we're just evaluating other facilities that could meet the needs of the government. There has not been a decision made at this point. If there's anyone that has a suggestion of a building that you want us to look at, please send to my attention. We are evaluating that at this time. We do have one comment. No question, comment. Any new tall structure should consider bird death and injury from impact due to glass and vision illusion. These things are easy to implement if thought about beforehand and should be considered. So thank you for your comment on that. And again, we will put all the comments and questions together so that they're in one document and provide those to City Council as they continue to deliberate and discuss the projects that are on the proposed list. And that is, right now, all the comments that we've had come online. Is there any questions, additional questions from the audience that we would be happy to address? Or any comments? Yes, sir. Okay, can you come to the microphone so we can hear? Thank you, sir.
So like, this kind of piggybacks off of earlier with metro transportation. I just think in general, all elected officials should at least try to take metro transportation at least once every now and again, even in just a random area, just to understand like what citizens have to go through when having to take that, because, you know, like you said, if it's raining and you've got groceries, your bags are going to fill up with water, especially if you can't get an umbrella that day. You know, if you're disabled, it can be very difficult to get to some of the spots that do have benches. So it's just something that's simple and like, you know, I know there's small spots and scattered and not always easy to improve, but it's something that some citizens have to use to get around. Like my friend can't see out of one eye and cannot drive, period. And you can't get everywhere on a scooter, you know what I mean? So I just think best practice for elected officials to better understand citizens besides going out into their district would just be to try and use that transportation, whether they're areas you usually go to or not usually go to better understand what improvements could be taken. So it's just something I had if we had the time. Thanks, guys. Y'all are doing great.
All right, thank you, we appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Mayor, would you like to close us out? We will stay for about 15 more minutes. If there are other questions or comments that come in online to make sure that we get your comments, you can also call my office, 706-225-4022, or my email at phodge, PHODGE, @columbusga.org. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to email me also. Mr. Mayor?
Just thank you. I just want to thank the department heads for showing up out here to be able to answer any questions. I want to thank the folks that showed up. I want to thank the people that were watching too online that submitted questions. It's great to see the process work. And I love what I think Mr. Robinson was talking about about Metro, because I looked at the city manager and said, we talk about it all the time, and we haven't really addressed putting that on there, the need to have sheltered bus stops for people as they come through. So that's a great idea. That's why we do this, though, is to be reminded sometimes of the things that we have thought of in the past and for whatever reason didn't get mentioned by a citizen and didn't make it on the list. So I want to encourage you to continue. If you think of other things that you want to provide input on, reach out to Deputy City Manager Hodge, or you can call the city manager's office or the mayor's office and let us know. And we'll try to make sure that it gets on there. And I will say that's a great idea, and I think counselors would love to do it, and many of them have. I know when I was on city council, they used to have a ride week, and we'd get a card that they would send out to counselors, and I have ridden on Metro. And it is a great point, because it creates a set of circumstances that you really need to experience to understand what our citizens go through. So thank you for that idea. Thank all of you for being here, and don't forget to continue to submit your ideas. Have a good evening.